August 18th, 2012, at 10:29 a.m., my daughter Aubrey took her first breath. It was an incredible day for my wife, my son, and me, and we were happy to have shared it with our family and friends. As the excitement of her first cry, her first bath, and her first diaper change had faded, though, I was left thinking about the one thing that wouldn't happen that day. My dad wouldn't be there to meet Aubrey. In fact, my dad would never meet Aubrey, because he passed away 1 month earlier on July 19th from leukemia. In the months leading up to Aubrey's due date, I held out hope that not only would my dad live long enough to see the birth of his last grandchild, but he'd also be healthy enough to enjoy it. It was really important to me to be there. So when he couldn't make it, I decided that I had to bring him to the hospital with me somehow. Around my neck I wore a memorial necklace. It's in the shape of a bullet because my dad was an avid hunter. Etched into the surface of the bullet are my dad's initials, and on the inside of the bullet are some of his ashes. I asked a family member to take this photograph of Aubrey and the necklace on the day of her birth. I consider this to be the only photograph I have of her and my dad. Later that evening, when I was looking through the photos with my 3-year-old son, we came to this photo, and I told him how important it was to me, because I really wanted his grandpa to be there to meet Aubrey. In true 3-year-old fashion, he looked at the bullet still hanging around my neck and said, "I want to bite Dad and let Grandpa out so he can see Aubrey." I just laughed and said, "Buddy, you can't bite my bullet and let Grandpa out. He can't come out." What if he could? What would it have taken for him to be there that day? My dad was diagnosed with leukemia in February of 2012 when he was in Texas. He went to Texas for a few months each year, where he would cross the border into Mexico and buy a year's worth of medications and get dental and medical procedures done that he couldn't afford to have done in the U.S. One day when he was coming back from a walk, he collapsed into the grass beside his camper. He was rushed to a nearby hospital where he received the initial diagnosis. And when he returned home to Wisconsin, he began chemotherapy, but it wasn't long before they realized that the leukemia was terminal. He was given 2 options. He could continue the chemotherapy and perhaps live a few extra months, or he could discontinue the chemotherapy and have better quality of life. He chose to have a better quality of life. That February wasn't the first time my dad had showed any symptoms, though. In early fall of 2011, he began to complain about feeling weak. His joints were hurting, and he wasn't hungry as often as he normally was. I'd asked him, "Dad, have you been to the doctor about this?" And he said, "Yeah, I've been to the doctor. They want me to do a bunch of tests. I don't need those, I'm just getting old." I'm just getting old was his way of saying, "Don't worry about my health." Then in November of 2011, he called me one day to tell me that for the first year since he was a kid, he wouldn't be able to go hunting. He said he just couldn't make it through the woods to his hunting spot anymore. I remember saying to him, "Dad, why don't you just bite the bullet? Get those tests done. Find out what's wrong with you." He said, "Mike, I know what's wrong with me. I'm just getting old." At the time, neither he nor I thought that his health was any of my business. Now, a little over a year later, he's passed away. And I'm left wondering, what if? What if I had done more to convince him to get those tests done in the fall? What if they'd caught the leukemia earlier? Maybe he could have lived a few extra months or even years. Maybe they could have cured him. Maybe he could have met Aubrey. We all have times in our lives where we have difficult decisions to make. Sometimes those decisions are painful but inevitable. And rather than bite the bullet, we try to delay them for as long as possible. Delaying those tough decisions, though, may just end up leaving us and our families less time to recover from them later. That's what happened with my dad. With 2 kids of my own, I realized that I have to bite the bullet and make some tough decisions now that may seem very personal to me. But I know they have a big impact on the lives of the ones that I love. What's your bullet? What decision are you avoiding even though you know you need to make it? Are you one of the millions in this country who are in debt and living beyond their means? Deal with that now. That is not a burden you want to pass on to your kids. Or maybe even thinking about going back to school, getting a degree so you can better provide for your family. Don't wait. It just gets harder every single day that passes. Or perhaps you're like my dad, and you don't take your health very seriously. Just bite that bullet. Don't wait till you collapse into the grass, because by then, it may be too late. I understand why my dad made the decision not to get those tests done in the fall. It's cheaper to get them done in Mexico. I honestly can't even say that if he made his decision any differently, that anything would have changed. I still can't help but think, though, that maybe if I had done more to convince him to get those tests done earlier, then I wouldn't have to consider this to be a picture of him and my daughter. Don't leave your loved ones in a position where they have to think about what they could have done to change your mind. Bite the bullet. If not for you, do it for them. Because maybe if my dad had decided to bite the bullet, then my son wouldn't have to.